So we just wrapped up the Paralogism quest in Genshin Impact, and initially, I wasn't planning on making a video about it since I already shared my thoughts in a post, and I thought that would be enough to cover everything that I thought about the quest. But after thinking about it some more, I realized that there is a lot to discuss beyond just the quest itself. The impact it has on Genshin Impact as a whole is something we need to talk about. So if you're into this kind of content, don't forget to hit the like button and comment your thoughts below. What do you think about the Paralogism quest? I already shared my feelings in the post. I was not a fan, but I really want to hear your perspective too. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Alright, let's dive in. Before going into the issues with the Paralogism quest, let's quickly recap the quests leading up to it, especially focusing on Dragonspine. In version 1, when we first entered Dragonspine, it was heavily tied to Albedo's story. But the key element was the Heart of Durin, a dragon that, despite all efforts, could not be killed. This character that is Durin was crucial to understand the events leading up to the Paralogism quest. So in the quest itself, we discover that it continues the theme of character copies. We learned that there are copies of NPCs in Mondstadt that infiltrated the cities months ago. Some of the original characters that these copies were based on had died along the way. It's a complex situation, but the fact is it still centers around Albedo. To deal with these copies, the major players in Mondstadt, Jean, Albedo, and Kaya, devised a plan to put Albedo on trial to identify who the copies were. Honestly, the whole trial felt like a way to stretch the playtime more than anything else. But the main point of the Paralogism quest was to place Durin's heart into another dragon, Mini Durin. They managed to deal with the copies, put the heart in Mini Durin, and everything seemed to settle down. Alright, now that we've broken down the Paralogism quest, let's talk about the various problems concerning these quests and how these problems ranges from affecting the quest itself to affecting the entire game as a whole. One of the more obvious issues is that a lot of people have simply not played the previous quest. Like if you started Genshin this year, man, I don't even know what to say to you. Because this quest is HoYoverse just telling new players tough luck. Like honestly, you're locked out of all that context. There is no way to go back and play all those older story quests, they're gone. Even the quest that introduced Mini Durin, the other dragon, was also time limited. So again, new players are just out of luck, and this isn't a new complaint in the Genshin community, it's been a thing forever. Genshin loves putting major story beats and important lore in these temporary events. Stuff that should be absolutely part of the main story ends up locked in quests that vanishes after a few weeks. It's like they're trying to create this urgency so you log in and play before it disappears. But if you miss it, well, sucks to be you. And I mean, same thing happened with Scaramouche. This guy was introduced way back in version 1. And if you didn't play the quest back then, your first time seeing him was probably during the Inazuma arc. No build-up, no context, just bam. Here's this guy acting all mysterious and evil. And again, that is a huge problem. This is something that people have been bringing up forever, but for some reason, the game still hasn't fixed it. But here's the thing, ask any die-hard HoYoverse fan about this issue, and you'll get the same response every single time. They'll find some excuse for it, like, oh well, you should have played it when it came out, or it actually makes sense if you pay attention. Basically, it is your fault for missing the context, not the game's fault for locking it away. So yeah, HoYoverse fans and honestly HoYoverse themselves aren't losing sleep over this. They're not bothered by a problem that, let's be real, hurts one of the few consistently good things about Genshin Impact, its story. And because of that, we can't even act like this is something that will ever get fixed. It is not. We just have to accept that, so let's park that issue for now. The next problem I've got with the Paralogism quest is about Durin himself. If you saw the post I made about the quest, this is basically just me expanding on that because the way they handle Durin is actually wild. Durin is a character we've known about in Genshin for 4 years now, and honestly, he's one of the most important characters in the entire game. Think about it, he's tied to Dvalin, to Barbados, to Rhine-Daughter, to Albedo. That's 4 major players right there. And even loosely tied to Dainsleif too, since he's got connections to both Rhine-Daughter and Albedo. So Durin is no small deal. And back when Genshin was actually good, and I mean that, there was a time when Genshin was genuinely great. They dropped us into Dragonspine and put a literal beating heart at the center of the mountain. And they told us, hey, this heart belongs to the dragon that wants to arise Mondstadt. So any human being who sees that setup is gonna think, we're definitely going to interact with this dragon at some point, right? It just felt inevitable. And beyond all his associations, there's also been a lot of lore scattered around the game about what kind of being Durin really is. I mean lore about him being a child who thought that when people were attacking him, they were actually playing with him. So he played back with them and ended up destroying everything. It is twisted, but also some of the best writing Genshin has ever done. Like genuinely tragic and deep stuff. But then the Paralogism quest came in and flipped all that on its head. So you think with all that build up, all the lore they set up, they'd actually give us something, right? Like at the very least, some kind of interaction with Durin. Even if it's not a fight, maybe a confrontation, a cutscene, anything, but no, nothing. This is honestly the one thing that just completely killed the quest for me. You teased us about a beating heart for 4 years, and even in the quest, they kept saying if we leave the heart unchecked, Durin might come back and wreck everything. So obviously, I was like, oh cool, we're finally going to get that Durin moments. But no, instead, we walk up to the same heart that we've been staring at for years, and what do? A little animation plays, we collect the essence of the heart, and we drop it into a completely different being. Now look, I actually don't have a problem with the idea itself. If the plan is to stop the dragon from coming back by transferring its essence into another dragon, that's cool. I can roll with that. But as always with Genshin, it is the execution that is the real issue. The interaction with Durin's heart was so anticlimactic, like painfully anticlimactic. Durin, one of the most interesting, important, well-written characters in the game, gets treated like a throwaway footnote. And the worst part is, if this were a better game, you think, okay, Durin's essence is still around, so maybe it becomes something. Maybe there's a plot line there, but this is Genshin. And in Genshin, let's be real, I wouldn't be surprised if this mini Durin they created just ends up being a background NPC we see once and never again. And that's what really pisses me off. We don't get actual interaction with Durin. We never have. The last time we got anything akin to an interaction was 4 years ago, and now we get this weak anticlimactic hand wave of a moment. One of the most hyped characters in Genshin Impact gets a grand total of 0 respect. And this isn't just a Durin problem, it is a Genshin problem. Like, let's be real, how many times do we hear about Lord Deshret in Sumeru? That was a staple name, we heard it over and over again. But did we ever have any interaction with Deshret? Did we ever see him in action? No. Same thing with Elenas and Fontaine. You set up this epic beast, have us have a confrontation with it, give it a cool name and all this potential, and then nothing. I genuinely don't believe we are ever gonna see Elenas again. It's one and done. And that's how Genshin does things. They hype characters and plot lines like they're going to mean something, and then they just don't. So yeah, even though they transferred Durin's essence into mini Durin or whatever, I wouldn't be shocked if nothing meaningful comes out of it, because that's just how Genshin is. That's the cycle. The third major problem I have with the Paralogism quest is the secrecy. And just to put things into perspective, let's start with the Varka situation. So in the trailer, we got this moment where the screen goes blank and suddenly we hear Varka's voice. Now if you're new to Genshin or you're just super naive, that probably got you hyped. But for the rest of us, just like we knew how Neuvillette being stabbed was bait, we also knew that this was also pure bait, just pointless hype, and the quest made that painfully clear. Because the entire Varka moment was a butt dial. Venti accidentally called Varka instead of somebody else, and that is it. That is the whole thing. And honestly, I wasn't even mad. I didn't feel anything, no frustration, no disappointment, just nothing. And the reason is, more than what I feel about the quest or the game itself, I just don't care about Varka anymore. I don't care about what he looks like, what kind of person he is, or what amazing things he might have done, because when I did care, when the interest was fresh, Genshin gave me nothing. This is not how you build up hype. And this really gets to the core of how Genshin handles secrecy and build up. It is all just surface level. They mention a character once, vanish them for 2 years, maybe whisper their name again somewhere down the line, and then pop them back in some side moment like this butt dial scene and call it a reveal. And I don't understand how the developers think that this is ever a good idea. Like, a real build up and reveal would be something like Madara from Naruto. Madara was teased constantly. Every time Toby showed up, every time someone brought up the Uchiha past, that name came back. And when Madara finally appeared, it meant something, it hit, it was earned. Genshin even has a version of this with the Sarita. Every time we see Fatsui Harbinger, every time Shinzneya is brought up, the Sarita always remains a looming figure. But for the most part, Genshin introduces someone once, ignores them for years, and expects you to still care. It's how they have treated Varka, and it's also what they're doing with the Hexenzirkel. Now look, I get it, at the very least with Varka, when we do eventually meet him, his design is probably going to be decent since he will be a playable character. And maybe even his backstory will be solid enough to just barely meet expectations. But then we've got the Hexenzirkel, and that's where things get messy. So what exactly do we know about the Hexenzirkel? Well, not much. But it's clear that Genshin has started creating a hierarchy within this group. Like, it's obvious that characters like Alice, Ryan Daughter, and maybe even Mona's master are being placed way above the rest with regards to importance in the story. They're the names that keep popping up, and because of that, you just know that these are the ones that might end up being playable. I mean, if I had to make a bet, I'd say only Alice actually makes it to the roster. But Genshin is definitely putting the spotlight on those three especially. Now that tells me something real important. Not every member of the Hexenzirkel is going to be playable, and I'm getting somewhere with this, so just bear with me for a second. The only characters in this game with top tier design are either on the roster or in the grave. Like, look at Signora or Capitano. Incredible designs, big lore presence, both dead. Now, maybe Capitano isn't officially gone, but let's be real, even if he comes back, Genshin is definitely putting him up on the playable lineup. But here's where things get wild. We've also seen some of the most important still alive characters in the story get absolutely zero love in terms of design. Let's take Xbalanque in Outland. This guy is literally the most important character in the whole region. He is a god. But what model was he given? A basic NPC model with different hair. And maybe you're thinking Xbalanque is a one-off, but nah, this is a pattern. Think back to Lihre, Mountain Sharper, Mooncarver, and Madame Ping. All massive figures in the lore, all still alive. And every single one of them, NPC models with the only real difference being their hair color. That is it. And these are characters that are supposed to carry weight in the world of Teyvat. So if we take that and look back at the Hexenzirkel, what are we supposed to expect? We've been teased about this group since forever, but now it looks like only 3 of them might actually get playable status. So what does that say about the rest? Well, don't get your hopes up is all I'm saying. Can you imagine if after all the teasing from version 1, after all the mystery and build-up, we finally meet the rest of the Hexenzirkel, and they're all just more fancy-haired NPCs? That is the level of disappointment Genshin seems to be setting us up for, and honestly, it is exhausting. Now look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all the members of the Hexenzirkel will be playable. Maybe I'll end up eating my words, but I don't just see that happening. I really don't. Not with the way Genshin has handled them so far. It's just the way they've treated the Hexenzirkel is completely different from how they've treated, say, the Fatui Harbingers. Like, when we get introduced to a Harbinger, it's a moment. We get full cutscenes, time spent with them, some actual build-up, there is weight, there is presence. But with the Hexenzirkel, that same attention just hasn't been there. They're teased in passing, referenced in lore, but not really shown in a way that makes you feel like they're central to the plot. And honestly, at this point, I am not betting on anything. Now, looking ahead, I'm still willing to give Genshin a shot with Nordcry. If I jump into Nordcry and I still get the same feeling, well, that says a lot about this channel going forward, and me as a Genshin Impact player. But enough about me, what about you? What did you think about the Paralogism quest? Did you hate it? Did you like it? Did you agree with my points, or did you think I am overreacting? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear all of it. And yeah, I am planning another video soon where I talk about the games this channel will cover going forward. That should be interesting, so stick around for that. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.